Hey guys, Chris here, the Ultimate Recycler. I'm in the studio tonight just simply because it's too damn hot outside. It's 7:30 in the evening. It's still 38 degrees outside. We're in a bit of a heat wave in Australia. It's at least probably 35 in my shed. So we have an air conditioner in the studio, and this is where we play table tennis. We do some rock and roll dancing, and Christine also films some of her videos with all her fabric because it's a good spot to work. I have a TV on our table tennis table at the moment. And that's another reason I like to use this area, is that I couldn't get big TVs into my shed at the moment. It's just too cluttered. This is a older Samsung plasma TV that was dropped into the shop as e-waste. It's probably not worth fixing, but let's see if we can fix it anyway. So I was just about to plug it in and see what it actually did. The customer said that it would turn off by itself more frequently, and then it got to the stage where it wouldn't even turn on. I just did try it, and we've got nothing. I could get the standby light here. In fact, it won't even stay on. If I grab the remote and try and turn it on, I think the standby light was flashing. It's not even doing that now. So I'm not going on. I did have a flash there before. There's no life at all in it. Now, it's an older plasma, as I said. I think it's about 17 years old, and I do use AI to help me out with these things now. I find it quite useful. I took a photo of the information at the back, as you can see now, and all I did was post that photo to AI, and it told me a whole heap of information about this TV. I then asked whether it could get all the free-to-air stations, TV channels in Australia, and it said probably not, because it's the older MPEG-2 system. But look, as I said, it's probably should really be scrapped. I'd probably be lucky to get $30 for it at the shop, but let's pull the back off and see if we can work out why it's not powering up. First thing to do is remove the stand. Now, these old plasmas were a good quality TV, and they will outlast an LCD TV, and they're a much better picture. They're a bit heavier on power, and they're certainly heavier to lift. And yeah, it's a bit of an issue if it doesn't get all the channels, but you can certainly run it through a set-top box to achieve that. So if anyone wants a budget TV and has a strong shelf to put it on and a strong back to put it up there, and wants something cheap, hopefully it might be an easy fix. There's a fair chance we're going to find issues, or not, maybe not find issues, in which case I won't go to too much more trouble. Or we find a lot of capacitors crook on the power board or something like that, which won't be worth the effort. But we'll have a quick look anyway. We may just decide to scrap it out, in which case this will become a scrapping video. Okay, a quick browse over. It's fairly clean, which is good to see. There's the main board, which may not have the problem. I think the problem is more likely to be on the power board. Then there's a board here for, I'm not sure, I don't remember what these are called. I have a feeling they're like an X and Y board, but I don't remember exactly what they do. Lots of big capacitors on them, some extruded aluminium heat sinks. We've got to be careful what we touch because we have tried to power it up. So some of these capacitors possibly will hold a charge. I can't see any bulged ones. I'm looking for bulged tops on them. That looks okay. The ones over here look okay. Of course, a capacitor might be well out of spec and still look normal. And then there's a nice big board over this side, which would be a good mid-grade board. It's got lots of flat pack chips on it. There'll be a T-con board under here. But I think our problem is most likely going to be in the power supply section. I guess I could check a couple of fuses. The other thing that apparently plasma TVs had a problem with was the screws that hold the boards down have to earth to the chassis, and because these things run a lot hotter than normal TVs, the heat cycle of them will gradually undo the screws because they run hot. Then when you turn them off they get cold, then you turn them on they get hot, and it can actually undo the screws or lose an earth contact. So we will just quickly check all those. But yeah, I can't see anything visually crook. Let's get the meter and check a couple of fuses. All right, our meter's set to continuity. Let's just see if the fuses are okay. Those two are. Is there any others? Can only see two there. So there's no problems with them. Of course, the fuse is unlikely to be the problem. Well, it couldn't be the problem if you have an intermittent issue, because fuses don't repair themselves and then blow again. The screws are a little loose, but not loose enough to cause an issue. I can get a little bit of a turn out of them all, but I certainly wouldn't call them loose, so I don't think that's a problem. I think the problem's got to be on our main power board. So maybe I'll take that out and we might just check a couple of the capacitors. There's not many on there. So I just plugged the mains in, and I was going to try and check some voltages on the output sockets on the power board, and plugged the thing in, and lo and behold, it comes to life. You can see a green LED flashing on that little board in there, and it made the startup noise, and I lifted the corner of the panel and I could see the screen was alive. It said no signal. So intermittent, definitely. So the fuses obviously were fine. There's no parts that are blown. When you have an intermittent problem, it's possibly, sometimes it can be a capacitor that plays up as it warms up, but then it wouldn't start up before when it was cold. I'm thinking more likely a bad solder joint, particularly because I've moved it around a bit. So I'm not sure there. I've been able to put the stand back on it without having the back cover on, which is handy. I'm going to unplug it and then stand it up, and I'll power it up again, and I might just play a DVD or something through it and just see if it keeps going or whether it clicks out after a while. So that's working fine. It's actually a pretty good picture. So I'm just going to leave this DVD playing for a while, and I'll, I don't know, we'll just trial it for a bit and see how we go. Surely tightening the circuit boards up, that's all that I did. Couldn't fix the problem. I think it's more likely to be bad solder joint. Maybe I can just tap on the board a bit and see if it makes any difference. Of course, not with my finger.
Now here's survival is the name of the game. Only it's not a game. It's deadly serious. Not many animals call this place home.
We'll leave it go for a while and just see how it performs. Okay, it's the next morning and a problem has presented itself. I played the DVD for about, I reckon, 2 hours last night. It was working fine, turned the TV off, turned it back on this morning, it turned on fine. Went out and took Coco for a walk, came back, and we've got an off TV. It does show, oh, I thought it showed a standby light. It's not. All right, well, let's see if we can turn it on. There we go. This is what it was doing when I first tried it. When you press the remote, the standby light flashes, but the TV won't come on. So I think it's gone into some sort of protection mode. My next step will be to remove the power board and just check a few capacitors, because I guess that would cause it to happen. It's a power supply issue, I think. I'm not going to go any further than that. If we can't sort out any problems, we'll end up just scrapping it. So, all right, I'm kind of glad it did something, because there's nothing worse than an intermittent result or an intermittent problem that never shows its face when you're looking to fix it, and the moment you sell it, it plays up for someone, so that would be no good at all. Let's rip the power board out and go and test it. So I've carefully removed the power board, and Coco seems to have run out of power after her walk. And I've carefully done it without touching anything other than just the heat sink here, because some of these capacitors certainly still could have a punch in them. So I'll just short a couple out, the main ones. No sparks. It's possible that the power board has drained the capacitor's voltage. They might have bleed down resistors. But I'm going to short all the main ones out before I start touching anything, because they can hold anything like upwards of 400 volts. Oh, there we go. There we had a spark, and that was only a smaller one. Made me jump. So I'm going to check that before I start touching anything. As you can see, they can still pack a punch. And then once they're all shorted out, we'll start testing a few. I suspect it won't be any of the big filter capacitors. It's more likely to be one of the smaller ones. Those two could hold a charge. They're actually rated at 450 volts, so they're the main ones we want to short out. Let's do those now. Nothing in that one. Nothing in that one. So it could be one of these little caps if that is what the problem is. If they all check all right, I think we'll end up just scrapping it. Back in the studio after a hot day, and I did spend some time in my workshop and I checked all the capacitors on this power board and every one of them tested within spec. So they're okay. There's no troubles with the capacitors that I know of. The next step I decided to do was go to all the main power components, the ones that run or are bolted to heat sinks that get hot. So all these MOSFETs, the end one there, the big wide one, is a bridge rectifier. I don't know what some of the other ones are, but any of them that are bolted to a heatsink will get hot, and consequently there's a chance that the solder joints may crack from that thermal cycling I mentioned earlier. So I went and reflowed the solder on every component, every major component. I certainly didn't worry about all the little ones, and I couldn't do the surface mount ones, but I did the main components. There were a couple of joints like this one I took a photo of that looked a little sus. You know, is that a crack around the pin? Not too sure. So I resoldered every one that looked a little sus. It's possible that that's fixed the problem. I have had success before with that strategy. So I can't do any more to this. I'm going to put this back in the TV and we'll power it up. Hopefully it springs to life. If it doesn't, we're certainly just going to scrap it. If it does, I'll have to give it prolonged testing and see if it can, you know, live another life, I guess. Okay, I've just plugged it in and I have noticed that we now have a solid standby light there. So let's see what happens when we power it up with the remote. Heard a relay click and the TV is booting up. Right, well that's not conclusive proof because it did this yesterday, but it's good that it's done it now, obviously. So let's power up the DVD player and we'll just play DVDs for ages and just see how it performs. Play. Well guys, this TV has been going pretty much non-stop the last 2 days, not at nights, but in the morning when I get up, I've turned it on. I've been playing every DVD I can get my hand on, all sorts of stuff. I'm not watching it, I haven't been in this room, but it's just been playing. I can see the TV picture from the kitchen, and every time I've looked out, I've expected it to be off. It is still going. I'm going to call this fixed. So I'm going to put it back together and take it to the shop. All I need to do is put the back on it. And I'm fairly sure that just soldering those few joints has fixed the problem, because I haven't done anything else and it seems to be working perfectly fine now. And now it's Friday in the shop. I have the TV set up and it's working flawlessly, very happy with it. And actually, even apart from what AI said, that model does get all the channels in Australia. So it's obviously set up for the current transmission system. Really good picture, and the plasmas will last a lot longer than the LCD TVs because there's no LED backlights to burn out. So even though it's an older model, it's going to be a very good TV for someone. I just put $50 on it. It should sit here. It shouldn't sit here for very long. The big one below it has actually just sold 5 minutes ago. I had $100 on that one. And up the top there, I have another TV going, which is actually, I'm testing a VCR, just playing videos. So the tech corner is pretty active at the moment. I like to have a few things playing and it's a great way to sell them. So thanks for watching guys. A repair which I kind of didn't really know what I fixed, but it just goes to show that the strategy of resoldering components that get hot is sometimes a very good success situation. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.